Welcome back, everybody. So today we're going to be looking at Trinomial Factorization 3. This is the final bit of factorization we're going to do. And this is quite a bit advanced, it's tricky, and it's just meant to give you an alternate way to solve trinomial factorization. Usually I've tried to use this when dealing with large numbers, like if maybe the third term is something like 100 and it would have just too many factors. Like you can find the factors, but in order to do all that trial and error, it might take some time. So using this method, you're able to do it quickly, but of course the method is a bit more difficult, so please use with caution. All right, so yeah, I think we'll just jump right into this, and yeah, I hope you enjoy the video. So right here we have 3x squared plus 4x plus 1. The trick with this is, unlike before when we look for the factors of the first and the last term, here we're going to really be focusing on the middle term. And what we're going to do here is we're going to break up the middle term. So first of all, I'm just going to write down the first term and the last term here, and then we're going to break up this middle term here, plus 4x. So what we want to do is that we want to break it up so that we are able to get a group of terms here and then get another group of terms here wherein you can actually take out a common factor. All right, so we have 4x here. If we have 4x here, what can we break it up into so that we can have a common factor between 3x squared and a common factor between this one? We can break this up into 3x plus x. So 3x plus x just gives you 4x, and we can just write it down right here as 3x plus an x right here. And as you can see, we can take out a common factor here of 3x. So that's what we do, take out the common factor of 3x, and what we're left with is x plus 1. Then plus this side here, we don't really have a common factor, but we already have what we need. We have x plus 1, and I'm just gonna leave the brackets right there, because here we can actually just treat this whole thing as almost a single term, and I can actually factorize it out. So we have x plus 1 here on this side, and we have x plus 1 on this side. So we just factor out x plus 1. So x plus 1 here. We take that out, and what we're left with 3x plus 1. Because in this case, in order to get x plus 1, from here you're going to have to multiply x plus 1 here times 1 to give you x plus 1. And just like that, it's factorized. So one thing you'll notice when going through all these examples is that they're basically identical or similar to all the examples that I did in the Trinomial Factorization 2 video. So I did this so that you can be able to kind of check the two methods, check both answers, and just to see how they are different. Also, in the previous video on grouping, I think I also showed another trinomial factorization, although it was a bit trickier than these stuff, but it should also show you basically how these two methods relate to each other. And if you can understand how they relate to each other, you should be able to use them quite interchangeably. But alright, let's carry right on. So again, we're going to be really focusing on the middle term here. So I'm just going to write 3x squared on this side, and then the plus 2 on this side. And then I will break up minus 5x into something in which we can get a common factor between whatever term this is and 3x squared, and whatever term this is going to be with plus 2. So here I'm going to choose minus 3x and minus 2x. All right, so grouping these two here, so I'm basically just going to group these guys right here and take out the common factor. So the common factor here is going to be 3x, and then we're going to be left with x minus 1. And then on this side, I'm going to take out a common factor of 2. So I'll take out 2, and here we're going to be left with minus x plus 1. Now this is a little different from what we did previously. You see here, on this side we have x minus 1, and here we have minus x plus 1. These two are completely different, but you can actually turn this minus x plus 1 into x minus 1, or the other way around. So in order for us to be able to get a common factor to factor out, we're going to have to change this term on the right here. So I'm just going to copy down this first part, and then what I'm going to do, just going to write the 2 here. I'm going to take out a common factor of negative 1. When I take out a common factor of negative 1, I'm effectively multiplying whatever is inside this bracket with a negative 1. Or another way to look at it, if I'm multiplying negative 1 into this bracket, in order to get a negative x, I'm going to have to multiply the negative 1 with an x. And here, in order to get a positive 1, I'm going to have to multiply negative 1 with a negative 1. And just like that, we now have a common factor here and a common factor here. And this can actually just be really considered minus 2. So 2 times minus 1, just minus 2. Alright, so now we can take out a common factor of x minus 1. And what we're going to be left with is 3x minus 2. And you can compare it with the previous video's example, and it should give you the same answer, except that the brackets are flipped around. Now, instead of taking this step right here, we can skip this step right here by simply just taking out common factor of minus 2x instead of positive 2. So yeah, if you actually have the foresight to see that you're actually going to get a minus x plus 1, you can decide from the beginning to just take out a common factor of negative 2, saving you a step. But at the end of the day, this is still going to be quicker than using the previous method, though a bit more tricky, maybe a bit more difficult. Alright, on to the next one. So we'll do the same thing again. We have 2x squared, and just gonna write the minus 3 here, and I'm gonna break apart this x here in order for me to get a grouping of factors in which I can get a common factor out of them. So here I'm gonna choose 3x. So I'm gonna choose 3x here, positive 3x, and a minus 2x. So minus 2x plus 3x will give us positive x. So I'm just writing it in this order so that I'm able to visually see the grouping here. But it wouldn't matter if you just said 3x minus 2x. It would be the same thing. Alright. So here we have this grouping, and we could take out the common factor. So we'll take out 2x, and what we're going to be left with is x minus 1. And then this side, we're going to take out a common factor of 3. So take out the common factor of 3, or positive 3. And we're going to be left with x minus 1. And again, we take out a common factor of x minus 1. And we're going to be left with 2x plus 3. And again, very quick and easy, much faster than the previous method. Would you agree? Alright, now let's move on to the last question. So again, we're just going to do the same thing. 8x squared, and I'm just going to write down minus 3 this side. And then I'm going to try to break apart this minus 10x here. That will give us a common factor with 8 and a common factor with 3. So I'm going to choose minus 4x and minus 6x. But already when I'm looking at this, I already see a problem. So what I'm gonna, okay, let me just write it out to show what problem I'm gonna encounter. So here I can already take out minus, I can just take out 4x, right? Then I'm going to be left with 2x minus 1. And in this case, this side, I'm going to take out minus 3. And I'm going to be left with 2x plus 1. And unlike the previous one, we actually cannot change this 2x plus 1 into 2x minus 1. If we take out a common factor of negative here, we're going to be left with minus 2x and then a minus 1. So essentially, this actually does not work. So even though I kind of promised that we won't do trial and error, and you might be forced to do a little bit of trial and error. So I'm going to choose another breakup. So let me just isolate this right here. Alright, so let's try to see what we can break this up into. So that did not work. Now let's try something different. Let's try minus 12x plus 2x. Alright, and let me just write it so that the groupings are next to each other. So I'm going to group 8x squared with 2x, and then I'm going to group minus 12x and minus 3. So here I take out a common factor of 2x, and then here I'm going to be left with 4x plus 1. Alright, and then in this side I'm going to take out a common factor of minus 3. So taking a common factor of minus 3, I'm going to be left with 4x plus 1. And in this case, these are completely identical, so we can take out these common factors right here. 4x plus 1, and then you're going to be left with 2x and minus 3. Alright, so I was actually debating whether to remove this first part out of the video to edit it out, but yeah, then I realized that it's actually important to see where you can go wrong. So whenever dealing with maths, it's always okay to make mistakes, or even I'll make mistakes, but each and every single mistake is a chance to learn, and you kind of have to just embrace it, embrace that wrongness, and embrace that just dark, brutal feeling. Okay, this is getting a little dark, but yeah, so now we're done with factorization. I'm going to be continuing on with other work. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please comment, tell me what other videos you might want to watch, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Godspeed, everybody. Bye.